If you want to scale your roofing business to 8 or even 9 figures, you need to build a sales machine that works without you. In order for you to feel that feeling of freedom that you've been trying to feel with running your business, you need to learn how to operate your business without you having to do the day-to-day work. All right, the first thing that we need to go over is taking the mindset shift away from you being this hustler, busybody, from being an actual CEO. It's like this virus in the roofing community where these people, these roofers, they think that they have to do everything. They take care of the sales, they're doing project management, they're showing up in person to every single one of their jobs. They're doing absolutely everything. And the reason why, I honestly think it's ego. Like, I think you get this, business, I'm busy, like I got a lot of work to do type of feeling. But you're not operating from a position of leverage. You're operating from a position of just ego, where you're just taking on unnecessary work and you become your own bottleneck, right? Like what it says right here. You end up micromanaging like absolutely everything in your business, where the task could be delegated off to a VA, or you could let your rep handle it, or you can let your managers have a little bit more freedom because they're managing for a reason. There's no point in having a manager if you're gonna micromanage the manager, right? So I see that quite a lot. And you really get yourself into a position as an entrepreneur, as a business owner or CEO, where you pretty much just employ yourself into a high-paying job and you kind of trap yourself and enslave yourself, right? If you don't have the systems built around your business where you can free yourself, you're just working a job, right? But you have the CEO title. That's the only difference, okay? So that's something I want to make abundantly clear. So the mistakes. So you're doing all of the sales yourself. Like, you're not trusting anybody else to do the sales. You're not training well enough. And we'll get into some stuff to do on that a little bit later. This is a big one. You keep on chasing marketing channels. So marketing, right? There's fluctuations in it, obviously. But for some reason, we're expecting marketing channels to consistently and constantly just pump out the same results every single month. And the second the marketing channel gets hard to run or it dips, we're just like, oh, it doesn't work anymore. Let's stop doing Facebook ads. Let's try Google ads. Or, oh, this agency doesn't work anymore. Let's try another agency. Or, oh, my cold calling numbers have dropped. Instead of like trying to find ways to optimize and make it work, let's find something else, right? So you're constantly jumping from marketing channel to marketing channel. And it's just this race of just chasing leads and chasing this high of a perfect marketing stream, right? How about let's stick to one channel, get disgustingly good at it, and scale it. Scale the living shit out of it, right? So I see that happen quite a bit. So and that's pretty much what it says next. Like, you don't need these 5 lead sources. You only need to get really good at one. And the truth, like, we scaled NCT off of Facebook ads, and that's pretty much it. We dabbled here and there on other things, but we never really put focus into it. It was honestly shiny object syndrome for us, right? And the clients that we have, like in the roofing industry, that are like 8, 9 figures, we see them, they get really, really good at one channel, whether they're just weapons at door knocking or they're weapons at ads, right? They have most of their traffic come through one channel that they're really good at, right? Just put this into perspective. Who do you think's gonna win? Some guy that is spreading time between getting good at 5 different marketing channels at once, or one guy that is locked in on one channel for years, just focused in on that channel, becoming world class at it? Who do you think's gonna win? The guy that's kind of okay at door knocking and running like Facebook ads, Google ads, like having all these different strategies, or the guy who just gets really, really great at building a door knocking team, or really, really great at running Facebook ads, right? So just something to think about. So the first thing is just clear out this whole hustler mindset bullshit. You need to do a calendar audit almost. This is what I do constantly, where you take a look at your calendar and you write down everything that you're doing, and everything that you're doing that could be outsourced, it needs to be outsourced. And then you need to create an action plan of, how do I outsource this task? Because you need to be thinking more high level. You need to be pretty much like a data analyst at the top, like taking decisions from a place of leverage, right? Second thing, converting cold traffic is a skill that needs to be learned. Okay, so this is something that is a huge gap that I see within the industry. So every single marketing system that is like hyper scalable is built on cold traffic, right? So if you are lacking the skill of converting like the leads into appointments, and then obviously those appointments then into closes, you're gonna get eaten alive by your competition, and it's just kind of how it's gonna be. Like it's never going to get past, like you're never going to like break through that ceiling if you don't learn how to do this skill. Like, for example, like referrals. Referrals are great, but you're never going to crack like 8, 9 figures just purely based on referrals. Like if you're now watching this and a big chunk of your revenue is based on referrals, like I know for a fact you are fluctuating on a month-to-month basis in terms of your revenue because that's just how referrals go. It's super hard to control. Like you can't really control consistency with referrals, right? So they're great, but they're unpredictable. So we need to learn how to convert cold traffic. And the way that we do this is, building out like a sales process that is able to, slowly warm these people up and convert the cold traffic into deals consistently, right? So first thing obviously is a sales system that you can replicate, right? Without yourself, that you can replicate. That converts those cold leads into deals. So a huge gap that I see as well within the industry is roofers are really great at sales, right? But they're great with sales if they're a referral. Or they're great with sales if it's a door knock appointment. But they're not great with sales if the appointment is from another source, like a cold calling source or from ads. It's obviously a different approach, right? So we need to build out our sales process according to the marketing channel that we're choosing to be really, really good at, okay? So everything is flush, everything is consistent, okay? A really important thing as well is just like a pre-call process where there's multiple touches before the call. So you're sending texts, you're sending voice messages, you're sending emails, you're sending gifts. You might you're calling to confirm, you're chopping it up with them, you know what I'm saying? Like there's just as many touch points as possible before you get to the close. So like, just to put it in perspective, what do you think is going to have a better chance at closing? There's 2 prospects that are exactly the same. The first prospect just saw your ad and booked an appointment, and then you show up and close. The second guy saw your ad, they saw your testimonials, they see your social proof on your social media. They talk to you over the phone to confirm, qualify, chop it up a little bit. They got texts and emails, and then you show up. Which one do you think is a better chance of closing? Self-explanatory, right? So that's a gap that I see in a lot of people's process where there's not enough nurturing before the appointment even happens, right? The best thing to help with this, like a good tool to have, is a designated call team to confirm. So like that's what we have here. Like we just have a call team, their whole purpose is to confirm and nurture. So we make it as easy as possible for the salespeople to go to the appointments, right? So that's pretty much it. Like cold traffic, when you add the systems to convert them, that's when you unlock scale. Like when you're just relying on warm leads and leads to be silver platter handed off to your sales team, there's only so many of those, right? So if there's 100 people, there's gonna be 20 people that are laid down silver platter. There's gonna be 20 people that will never close no matter what you do. And then 60 left? Those are the ones that are on the fence. So that's what we need to get really good at converting, okay? So we need to build our systems around converting those people that are in the middle, okay? Third one, so this one's really, really important. So building out the systems to replicate your sales reps, okay? So this is where I see roofers, like they'll have a lot of mistrust where they almost don't wanna hand off that responsibility to their reps. And if they do it in a way that is very wonky, where either the sales rep is inconsistent or we have to micromanage that sales rep to make sure that he's always producing, okay? So we're gonna talk about how do we, onboard these people and train these people and manage these people so we can kind of let them perform and manage them either through managers, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, and how to have them perform consistently. Okay. So the first and most important thing is having a clear, and I mean in-depth clear SOP, standard operating procedure for your sales reps. Okay. So just in your whole system in general. So something that I do when I recommend absolutely everybody does, if you have a partner or something that's the sales lead of your company, you need to take pretty much a week out of your calendar and just dedicating it to make the most in-depth, clear, concise, most valuable SOP that you can possibly make. It might seem like a sacrifice to kind of go away from the day-to-day, but I promise you, if you do not have a great SOP in place, one of the highest leverage things you can do right now as an owner of your roofing business is just sacrificing a week and making the best training ever. Because if you can toss that training off to everybody that comes to your company from here on out, and they all become 20% better or 30% better out the gate because you have a really great SOP, I would say that's worth a week, right? So definitely make that sacrifice and make that SOP completely clear. This is another one. So hiring criteria for setters, closers, pretty much anybody that is going to be on your sales team and contributing. So something that I've made the mistake on very, very hard, and I see a lot of other roofers make the mistake on, is they'll get this in their head. They're like, oh, we need reps. We really need reps. And then they'll hire somebody that's I think he's okay. I think he'll be pretty good, right? So something that helps you with this is you need to pick your like absolute non-negotiable criterias for what a sales rep needs to look like within your organization. Write them down, whether it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of those pieces of criteria, and never, ever, ever sacrifice those standards. Never, ever move those boundaries, ever. Like if you have 7 pieces of criteria, you get a sales rep that comes across the board and he fits 6 of them, and on the 7th, it's like, I don't know, don't hire him. Do not hire unless you are absolutely certain, okay? Because a bad hire, it wastes a ton of time, wastes a ton of money. So be very, very clear on the criteria of humans that you want to bring through the door, right? One of the most expensive mistakes you can make is hiring the wrong salesperson. I'm sure you guys have probably come across that in your own journeys. This is something that I see a lot of roofers not do as well. So for us at NCT, like we're a virtual business for the most part. Like we have team members like all around. So this is like kind of like easy for us where we have like Zoom calls and we record everything. Everything's documented, everything's recorded. A lot of roofing companies where everything's in person, it's very easy to kind of come into the office and you have your sales meeting or whatever, you have your sales training, and it's not really recorded, right? So recording all of your trainings, all of your role plays, all of your best like calls, if you're like at your meetings with the homeowners, like you should be mic'd up or recording them in some type of way, like whatever way that you can. They all need to be recorded and put into a place where all of your reps can constantly go. It's like a library. They can constantly go and learn. Like for us here at NCT, like all of our best calls, all of our best trainings are all put into a Google Drive where people are constantly learning from those trainings. So they're constantly sharpening themselves because we're giving them resources to learn. If you are the only point of contact for them to get better, you are always going to be the bottleneck, right? Because imagine if you want to take your roofing company to 9 figures, and you have I don't know how many reps. It depends on like the systems you have, but like let's just say you have 25 reps. Imagine 25 reps constantly coming to you, asking you questions. Once again, you're going to be the bottleneck. So that's why we need to have like a place where they can constantly pull from to get better. They need resources, right? Frameworks in your SOPs that you can always refer to, like the sell me this pen, like that type of stuff. Like kind of having those like mindset frameworks, or like something that I'll mention like on my trainings. Is we'll go over a recording and I'm like, hey, stop right there. You're selling the pen. You don't want to sell the pen, right? Like if you had a pen, I don't have a pen around me. You're going to be like, oh, this pen is great. It's a high quality pen. Like you look like an idiot. So whenever I catch my reps like in that frame of mind, I'm like, hey, you're selling the pen. We don't want to sell the pen. So having those types of frameworks, it really helps. It really helps kind of like with the culture. And it's kind of like your guys' little like, almost like an acronym where like it's something that's easy to remember, where it kind of puts you in the right frame of mind, if that makes sense. So super, super important. And this is just something to think of. Like guys, if you take a look at your sales systems right now, if you were just God forbid, you just get hit by a car, you become terminally ill, boom, what's gonna happen? Like if you are gone, if you step away from your business, do sales cease? If it does, your systems are not built correctly, you have a high-paying job. You are just a glorified sales rep. You are a glorified employee. So we need to build these systems with the intention where you can step away and sales don't even really move because you have the systems and processes in place for that to be possible, okay? And the last thing we're gonna go into, so this is a very high-level stuff. So how do we manage through managers, okay? So the first and most important thing, like with a manager, is like, obviously picking the right one. So I'll see people, especially in the sales process. So we'll stick to like a sales environment because it's easy and a lot of you guys are familiar with it. A lot of people, they'll have a sales team where it's like 5, 6, 7 reps. They'll take their best closer and make them manager, which is probably one of the worst things that you can possibly do. Most of the time, your best closer is not really a good manager. Like they are a star player. They're like the star quarterback or like the star receiver. Keep them on the field. Like, why are we taking him off the field? We're taking our top producer and just put him on the bench pretty much. Like, we're making him a coach. It's not built the same way. So picking the absolute right manager who is like a leader, and something that I like to do as well when I'm picking like a high level like employee, like a manager at any level, is when I look at them and when I speak to them, and I learn something from them about like what their position would be. Like if I talk to like a sales manager, a potential sales manager about sales, and I learn a little bit of something from him, that's a really great sign. But if the skill gap between you and your potential manager is very large and you feel like you have to be teaching him sales, it's probably not the right guy. Because this is the guy that's going to be ending up like, teaching and training and managing your sales team in sales. So they need to be around the same level of competence as you are within that playing field, if that makes sense. That's something that's really, really huge. So here, let's get into it a little bit more in depth. So obviously, like hiring leaders like within the company, like that's kind of like what we're talking about. Like if you can't get that skill down, you're always once again, you're still going to be the bottleneck of your business. Even if you're able to like at this point hire sales reps and have like the right SOPs in place, if we're not able to get the right people to be on top of them, we're not building the layers in the right way, you are still going to be the bottleneck in your business. Okay, so learning how to work through people and get stuff done through people is a very, very important skill. I'm going to give you guys 3 tips on how to properly manage through managers. So the first thing, and this might be the most important thing, is we need to be very, very clear with your manager. Let them know and make it, once again, very, very fucking clear on what they can make decisions on without you and what they can't, right? Because if they're constantly coming to you, like, oh, Timmy said this, like, what do you think about that? And it's something that they can just handle on their own, that needs to be very, very clear. But if they're unsure about like what they can make decisions on, they're gonna come to you for everything. Once again, you're the bottleneck. You're not getting that like compounding, multiplying effect of having a leader in your business. So you need to be very, very clear from the beginning, set their expectations correctly on, hey, you can make decisions on this, 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 and this. Without me, I trust your judgment, okay? But the second thing, before we get to that point, something that I really like to do with managers, and the reason why I like to really promote managers and not really outside hire managers is I like for those managers to be around me for some time to see how I make decisions, right? Because if you want them to end up making decisions on your team without you there, and if they have a good idea on how you process information and how you make decisions for the better of the team, they are just that much better on developing that skill of making decisions, because obviously it is a skill, right? So having them either shadow you if you're hiring an outside manager, or like my favorite, like I said, is like hiring within the team if you can. Obviously, like I said before, don't necessarily hire your best performing rep. Hire the guy that you think is like the best leader based on like what you've seen, on his performance and how he operates with other team members and stuff like that. And the third thing, so if you get this down with your managers, this is where you become, this is really, really where you become at the top of the pyramid. You're just looking at data and making decisions. So having a structure with your managers where obviously you're meeting with them regularly, but you're giving a system off to them where they can consolidate data of the team and give you a very clear and concise report of that data. Okay? Because a lot of times, we'll have these redundant meetings within our processes, especially us as you guys as roofers. We'll have these very redundant meetings with our management level that can really just be taken care of you looking at pieces of data. And then, because that's going to tell a very big story. A lot of times it doesn't need a 30-minute hour meeting. We should be meeting with our managers, obviously, but like I said, we can cut out a lot of redundancy if we have really clear, strong data on what's going on under that team. Okay? There's a couple different ways that you can kind of do this at scale. I'm sure you guys know NVIDIA. So Jensen, the CEO of NVIDIA, he actually only has one layer of management in all divisions of his company. So he's looking at something like 40 reports of data a day. Obviously not everybody's Jensen, but his philosophy, which I would agree with for the most part, is the more layers you have between your core team and you, the more things will get watered down and the less that data really means at the end of the day, because you're more detached from what's going on. Right? We want to get a good understanding and not have too many layers of operations between your core team, so like a sales team or an operations team or your crew and you, right? So those are 3 little tips on how to manage through managers. So hopefully this video helped you guys. I kind of spewed a lot of information. I really just thought having kind of a high level talk of how to operate without you having to be there in the day-to-day is something that this industry really, really needs. Like I said, I think it's probably the biggest bottleneck that I see when I talk to tons of roofers here at NCT is I'm dude, you're doing everything. You're stop trying to be Superman, dude. Stop trying to be Superman. We gotta just sit at the top and just make decisions based from a position of leverage and not taking all the sales calls and showing up to every single roof that we close, right? These are all great things, but once again, at the end of the day, if we just get stuck in that hustler mindset, we will always just be working a high-paying job, and that's all it'll ever be. So hopefully this video helped you guys. We'll see you in the next one.